Hey y'all, I'm your host, Aaron Smith of the Offshore Marine Service Association. Each Friday, I'll bring you the Offshore Briefing, a quick rundown of the week's notable developments, updates, and news you need to know in the offshore space. Whether you're on deck or at your desk, we're glad you're here.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Offshore Briefing, brought to you by Maritime in America, brought to you by the Offshore Marine Service Association. I, as always, am your host, Aaron Smith, and as always, I have my co-host virtually with me, not presently with me. I'm here in AMSA World headquarters, and they're in satellite offices. Ashley Smith and Angel Johnson. How are y'all doing?
Doing well.
I'm good. I'm at home and I got my second shingles vaccine today, and I am nervously waiting the side effects.
Is that because you're old?
Yeah, actually, do we want to tell all the listeners that I'm younger than you? No, it's because that's going to go into my MSIB talk that I wanted to talk about earlier. No, it's because I have a disability, Aaron. And it requires me, with all of the drugs that I'm on, I have to get all these vaccinations because I'm susceptible to everything. But I really was embarrassed getting the shingles because you have to be 50 and over, and I am nowhere near 50. But
nowhere is doing a lot of work in that sentence.
I am way under 50, boy. You are close to 50. And anywho, the first one knocked me out for a solid 48 hours, like hallucinating out-of-body experiences. And I was just assuming the second would be easier, but it apparently is not. So I'm like already having anxiety about what's going to happen. So that'll be a fun few days for you, Aaron. But it's better than actually getting shingles. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's what I'm doing.
Wonderful. Angel, how about you?
What I'm doing, working. I shipped some stuff off today, which is important because it is cheaper here.
We have actually, I will say, I assume it's all of the acceptance letters for OSVDPA, which I think that's all I do now is sign those. It's been awesome how much that program has grown. So that has been good to see. But in talking about what our program today, I wanted to talk about, and I just wanted to talk to AMSA members here and hope that everyone has seen and has understood what we're doing by forwarding all of the MARAD vessel surveys out under the Jones Act. As we talked last week, the administration on August 10th extended the Jones Act waiver for another 90 days, shockingly taking them through the election, and stated that they were moving to a case-by-case approval system. So we have been, as AMSA members should have seen, every time we receive from MARAD, have been sending out the waiver requests to see if there's available U.S. tonnage. Now, understanding that most of what AMSA members do are not covered by these waivers, so that not a lot of AMSA members will have available vessels here. But the real reason we're showing is just because when this came out, we said that this was not going to actually be a case-by-case waiver, that this was a blanket waiver that was just called something else. And I think that these survey requests prove that, because there seems to be no pushback from MARAD. They are not, when they're getting these waiver requests in that will come in shockingly right above the top of the U.S. capacity, or requests for a single shipment that could be split up into multiple shipments, or even used to be split up into multiple shipments, but now they're calling for one shipment. MARAD's not pushing back on any of that, apparently, not that we're seeing. And we also, because the waiver requests are coming out with only 24-hour response time for sometimes transactions that are happening months in the future. And the U.S. industry has to say, hey, yeah, I'm going to have a vessel available in mid-September to make this load, it just shows that the deck is stacked against the U.S. industry and that this is just trying to prove that the U.S. industry is unable to fill domestic needs. And that's untrue. And it is being only done maliciously and by design for those people trying to
They're
push an
also
agenda.
sitting on the request for like some of them I've noticed 5 days and then getting it to us to get to everyone with a 24-hour turnaround. How's that fair?
Yeah.
And it's so many sent in one day as well. Like it's not just
Yeah.
one per day.
But-
and it's very vague. Like it's just saying if you can fulfill this. It's not saying if you can fulfill this in any capacity.
Yes. Well, and that's what I mean. It's not, there's no pushback. There's no, hey, prove, why are we having to prove what is available? Why don't they prove that they don't have what they need?
God, I wish that my life operated that way. It would be so much easier.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to pay our mortgage. You proved to me that I need to pay my mortgage.
Exactly.
Let's try it, Aaron.
Yes. So, well, and that kind of goes in. So I've hoped that AMSA members have seen what is happening here, because I know, we had a board meeting yesterday and it was, we had a very detailed discussion about this, and yeah, we could all see this. And like we said in one of our notices to AMSA members, this is why we opposed a case-by-case waiver and why we always have opposed any system that says, oh, you can bring in a foreign vessel if there's not an existing U.S. vessel, because we know that system will always be manipulated. The incentives for foreign vessels are always going to be way more than the incentive to use a U.S. vessel in terms of cost. I mean, if you can save a buck by employing a bunch of foreigners, they're going to save a buck. So that was my first story that I saw this week. The second story was late last week. I don't know if y'all saw it. It was in Friday Fast Facts, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it. It came out late Thursday. Was the president released a new memorandum on naval shipbuilding. And a bunch of people focused on a bunch of different parts of it. But one thing that wasn't focused enough on was the proposal in there that vessels be built in allied shipyards. And I think that this is something that is very detrimental and something that should not happen. But it's been kind of interesting how the same logic that has been used on these Jones Act waivers is being used for these naval shipbuilding. And kind of the logic is, oh, we're going to build the first few vessels overseas, but then we're going to use U.S. shipyards after they learn how to do it. If this sounds exactly like the promises that the offshore wind industry made and then reneged on, and the promises that the offshore oil and gas industry made and then reneged on, I think it's because the exact same people, i.e. European vessel owners and European shipyards and European countries, and those last two are probably one and the same, made and are breaking now. And so now they're saying, oh, well, we never used U.S. vessels for offshore wind. We try to get away with using foreign vessels for offshore oil and gas. But trust us, this time, we're only going to build a few vessels overseas for the U.S. Navy. Then we promise we're going to build vessels in a U.S. shipyard. So I found it interesting to see how there was obviously opposition from U.S. shipyards, but how that opposition seemed to catch some administration officials off guard, that they didn't seem to understand, like, oh, well, wait, really? You oppose this? Why do you oppose this? And I was like, really? Why do you think we oppose it? But also I saw one administration official was talking about it because someone was opposing and saying, look, these foreign companies are just buying U.S. shipyards to basically, undermine the market. And then once they have control of the U.S. market, they're going to make it so that they can't build anything, and then we'll be forced to go foreign. And, that's, I think, a very plausible argument. And I heard it was said to one of these administration officials who referred and said, oh, well, there's this firm that just spent $1 billion buying a Texas shipyard. You really think that they just spent $1 billion just so they could undermine the U.S. market? Yeah, we do. Totally. Do you know what the U.S. shipbuilding budget is? And the Navy, when you combine shipbuilding and ship repair, the annual budget is $35 to $45 billion. That's just Navy. That's not including Coast Guard. So a foreign company spending $1 billion one time so that they can corner a $35 to $45 billion market, that doesn't seem like that's that far-fetched. It seems like that's completely plausible and something that our government should protect our industry against. So those were just kind of two stories I saw this week. Ashley, let's go you. What did you see this week?
Sorry, I had y'all on mute. I was talking to myself. So it looks like on August 14th, so last Friday after we had sent all our stuff out, this is why we do it. This is why we send these weekly to give everyone updates. U.S. Coast Guard issued MSIB 03-26. It updated the reporting for sexual misconduct and harassment on U.S. vessels. And it is important, and I will send to the membership a synopsis of all this. Some big takeaways are really that the mandatory reporting requirement now expressly includes qualifying harassment, not just sexual harassment and sexual assault. So harassment could be anything. Again, you harassed me earlier on this call when you called out my disability. But we don't work on a vessel, so we'll just let that be. And it also
You are
means
HR
that,
though, so I think you should write him up.
oh yeah, that's right. Thanks, Angel. Thanks for reminding me.
Try it.
I'm going to write you up. It also means that then this is what I'd like to stress to everyone, because again, y'all know that I stress to our members and anyone operating under our security plan that that documenting, that's how you save your ass, because that's all the Coast Guard cares about really, is that you've documented whatever. So this change, MSIB 03-26, really should kickstart everyone to updating their vessel SMSs, their reporting procedures, crew training, and any escalation procedures.
So I found this interesting as well. Do you know the background?
Oh, wait, sorry. While my brain is going, I really just, and also, this just opens a whole can of whoop ass. Do the kids still say that? IDK?
No.
Because really,
never did.
Again, just how I called you out. I mean, that really wasn't harassment what you did. I mean, did you violate some sort of act? I'm sure. Whatever. We're married. I guess you're covered under it. However, it really could open up so much. And I'm not, again, I worked in a male dominated industry more so than offshore industry. And I mean, I haven't seen it here, but another industry I worked for, I mean, it's a thing. But we have to note that not every workplace disagreement or a rude comment or whatever is a Coast Guard reportable harassment incident. And I think that, like, when they do these things and they open it up, it almost makes it worse. And it makes those really important claims and harassments get overlooked, because you're going to be looking bullshit of, two coworkers fighting over something. And it's kind of a disservice.
Oh,
does that make me a terrible woman?
I think what is going on here is actually more interesting. And where this change came from the last year's Coast Guard bill. Because the original statute said the following things had to be reported: harassment, sexual harassment, or sexual assault, but that harassment was never defined. Now, where this was interesting was that some groups said that there were well, one group said, "Oh, well, because that sentence, the harassment, sexual or harassment or sexual assault, is in the preamble, it doesn't have to be reported to the Coast Guard," which is just a nonsensical legal position. But they got so many reports in that segment of the industry of harassment that they needed to tighten down and actually define harassment. So that's what they added. What this language added was a definition of harassment, because they had so many other complaints from that segment of the industry. Now, what's interesting is the next section down after this section is the section where all of these, as the Coast Guard gets all of these harassment reports that get submitted to them, they then, once a year to Congress, have to then report to Congress and say, here's how many harassment, here's how many sexual harassment, here is where they are coming from, here's what's going on with them. Well, I have a crazy idea. Let's tie the other requirements in the Safer Seas Act to which industry segments have the most harassment complaints. Because again, we repeatedly asked AMSA members dozens of times, how many of these harassment are you seeing? You know, your mariners now have to, your captains, your master has to report them to you and have to be reported to the Coast Guard. How many are you experiencing? It's like, yeah, one. Yeah, we had one a few months ago. Yeah, we've had none. You know, yeah, I had one. Meanwhile, other industry segments, massive numbers, just every day dealing with one after another. Yet our segment of the industry has the requirement that we have to have cameras in our staterooms now. But that requirement doesn't go to the segment of the industry that had all of these harassment complaints. So why don't we tie them? I mean, we have a reporting requirement now. Congress can look at those reports and line up who has to have the cameras on board with who has the most harassment complaints. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a little too much sense. So that's the problem.
Ah, yes. I know.
The more and more that I take over regulatory issues for AMSA, the more and more I legit wonder if
Burn it all
our
down and start
ADHD
over?
child is running it.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Because again, all of the important things like the actual sexual assault, the actual harassment, all those actual claims get lost.
yeah.
And that's what sucks.
Yes.
Anywho, well that's what I got. Angel?
Okay. I did want to send a reminder or have a reminder for the MMCs and the medical certificates. The medical certificates and MMCs that expire between January of 2026 and July 31st of 2026. Those remain valid through August 31st of 2026, and that date is closely approaching. Again, I do look at applications and see some of those MMCs, and I have seen one where it was expired. The mariner tried to renew it. However, the National Maritime Center is still having a delay in that. So I saw a letter, and that was as early as last month, I believe, or late last month. So just want to keep send that reminder out to the mariners to ensure that you update those your MMCs and medical certificates, or get a letter if they are not processing those in a timely manner. And then I do have a random update. I was looking for topics, and I came across an article about a maritime game. I am slightly a gamer, so this interests me. It was about warfare and different ships and whatnot. I wasn't
True
too
life, I'm a gamer.
I want
I
to
used to
hear.
say
Yeah,
that all the
yeah.
time.
Let's just stop right there. What you're a gamer, Angel. I want to hear this. I want to hear.
Oh, I wasn't too interested in the game that I saw. However, it did pique my interest, so I went looking for games similar to that. And I did find a simulation game. It's called Ships at Sea, and it can be a single player or online thing. But what interests me about it was that I can do cargo transportation and maritime operations. I can do like offshore operations. So I'm excited about that because I can uh kind of be a little bit of a DPO myself. So I'm excited
Awesome.
about that because I have a long trip ahead of me and I'll need some time. I'll have my computer with me, so I'll still be able to work, but I'll also, be able to look into some other maritime operation things. So I'm excited about it.
I'm just thinking about Mariners playing this game, and I'm reminded of a Homer Simpson episode where Homer, he gets out of the car. He's like, "Oh, that was such a long drive," and they sees like they're going into an arcade. And he's like, "Ooh, go karts!"
Games are more fun.
All right, well, that's awesome. Good. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode and found it useful. We have some special guests coming up at the end of the month. It's going to be a great episode, so looking forward to that. And with that, everyone have a good weekend and be safe.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Wish me luck.
You stole Angel's line again. Come up with your own sign off.
Oh, okay.
Goodbye.
Challenge accepted.
Good.
That wraps up another episode of Maritime in America. We're proud to highlight the voices and stories that keep the American offshore industry strong. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and remember, the course ahead is shaped by those who step up and steer it. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Tune in every Friday for your offshore briefing, and don't miss our next full episode, dropping soon with a very special guest, Mariner's Perspective. Catch you next time.